Right, at every UDS, everyone's got lots of different views on how to run a session, and I thought it could be useful to just get a 15 minutes, just bang through some of the things that I found useful when I've been running sessions. This is not the only way to run a session. This is just some tips that might be useful to everybody, and I'm going to skip through these fairly quickly. If anyone's got any other ideas, then you can scream them out. So, the purpose of UDS in my mind is that we come together to discuss, develop, and document plans for Lucid. And that's 3 distinctive stages. And our goal is to make sure that each session is really effective. We want to we've got this face time together, and it's most of us are used to working with each other online, so we have certain restrictions there. We're in a rich environment where we can use body language and whatever else to get through the sessions. So I've broken this into these 3 areas, and just some thoughts about each one. So, discuss. This is usually typically at the beginning of a session. The first thing you want to do is explain the purpose of it. A lot of people will see a 1-sentence description about what the session's about, and they may go there because they're curious. You want to explain what the goal of the session is. So the first thing is to say what it is. The second thing is to really keep the session focused on the topic. One thing that we've noticed, this is my 7th UDS, so one thing that I've noticed over the last 7 UDSs is that it's very, very easy, even with the best will in the world, for a session to ramble off topic. So you could be there to talk about building a particular feature into some software or a particular process in the community. It's very easy to get sidetracked with things that ultimately are not there for the core purpose of the session. So really try to keep it focused on the topic. If you're the leader of the session, then it's in many cases your responsibility to try and really keep it on topic. But everybody can help with this. And it's perfectly fine, it's perfectly polite to say, you know what, let's just keep focused on this for now. The other thing is that you'll notice that the rooms are in the fishbowl configuration. And the idea of this is that people with lots to say sit near the front, and they're closer to each other. People who are less active in the session sit towards the back. So the first thing is that really move around. I mean, if in a bunch of the sessions this morning, on my track, people were sitting towards the back and had a lot to say, and then they'd move forward. And typically when people on IRC said, we can't hear you. So really try and enforce that. The other thing is that the people who are running the session, and if you're really active in the session, you see someone kind of like, trying to do this and trying to get a word in edgeways. Be conscious of those people who've got something to say as well. I mean, some of us are quite loud, and we don't want to drown out the session. So yeah, really keep an eye open for those people so they can participate as well. So the second thing is developing a plan. In my mind, I believe a session's been successful when we have an outcome at the end of it. And once you've explained the purpose of the session and you're having it run, in my mind the best thing to do then is to really focus on outcomes. And that's really what we really want to focus on throughout the hour. So our real focus is developing a plan. It's coming out with a set of concrete outcomes that we'd like to initiate throughout the cycle. So really focus on these outcomes. Focus on things that you can literally add to a to-do list. And what I found effective is actually asking people to volunteer and say, would you be happy to do this? Would you be happy to do this? Because a lot of people have got ideas, but a lot of people don't necessarily want to commit to ideas. And part of the reason why we've sponsored, in terms of the community, we've sponsored this group of people is because the people we've sponsored have demonstrated a willingness to execute on ideas. So it's a good idea to document these things and assign them. Again, try to avoid cerebral, theoretical rambling. It's really tempting, because it's fun. We enjoy kind of like waxing lyrical about this, that, and the other. But, let's not turn this into food camp, right? So, it's tempting to get like that. So, the other thing is, be conscious of people agreeing to too much. We're here, and we're really excited. We're, in my mind, the coolest event of the calendar. We're surrounded by great people who are doing really great work. So when we get together, it's tempting to say, oh, I'll do this, and I'll do this, particularly if you're from the community where in Canonical we often have, we have to commit to certain things throughout the cycle. If you're in the community, you're like, yeah, I'll do that. And people don't necessarily, they can't necessarily commit to that level of agreement. So when you're going through your session, use Gobby to take notes on all these things. So as you're going through and you're trying to flesh out concrete things, stick them into Gobby, and that's a great way of keeping track. So the final thing is documenting things. documenting what you've agreed. So again, Gobby is really the scratch pad where you put these things together. But we don't want to just have them live in Gobby. You want those commitments to echo throughout the cycle. So a good way of doing this, of course, is to update blueprints. Blueprints are a great way of tracking progress. People can subscribe to them. You can assign blueprints. You can set milestones. We have this wonderful facility in Launchpad to help us keep track of our projects. Something that people on the community track will be familiar with today is this idea of roadmaps that we're trying to build out in the community as well. And we have a template in which you can basically say we have an objective, some success criteria, a set of actions, and we build a roadmap out for the next cycle. This is typically used in software development communities. We set roadmaps around functionality, but we can do that in teams as well. We can do that in logo teams, documentation teams, translations teams. It's just a set of agreements with people assigned to them that we can regularly check in on. So once you've got a roadmap, once you've taken the agreements from Gobby and you put it into a roadmap, the next step is communicating that out. It's very tempting as well to think that everyone in Ubuntu is here because we're surrounded by so many members of the Ubuntu community, whereas there's more people out there than are here. So we need to make sure we communicate this. So if you put together a roadmap and you think, you know what, I'd like to, I want to make sure that everybody knows about this, then mail your mailing list, mail other contributors that you know want to be aware of this. Make sure you communicate it out there. It's also a good idea to blog it, Twitter it, identical, whatever else. But roadmaps are not enough. If you create a roadmap, if you create a set of agreements, just writing it doesn't mean it's going to happen. So a critical thing here is following up, making sure you check in on it regularly. So if you have a roadmap for your team, so for example today we set a roadmap for the Loco Council, and we had a really, really productive session, and we've got a great sense of direction forward for the Loco Council in Lucid. But that will go nowhere if we don't regularly follow up on it. So the Local Council are going to be having regular meetings, their normal meetings, once a month. They're going to be able to check in there, check in on the roadmap, see how people are doing. If there's something in there that someone's struggling to do, then they can help them and move it forward. So that's basically it. Any other comments? Well, I've got about 5 minutes left. So does anyone have any tips, hints? No? It's clear then. All right, thank you, everyone.
I've been told I'm supposed to entertain you and tell my slides every day.
You monkey dance.
Tell a joke. I don't know any jokes.
Which one is it?
It's the ODP. Yes, this one. Yes. Where did it go?
We had a schedule, so
Yeah, we're doing all right. All right. How's everyone doing? You sound as optimistic as I am. All right. Why isn't it displaying the slides?
It's over left and right.
Okay, that's right. So, for those of you who haven't met me, which I hope is very few of you, I'm Matthew Thomas, and I'm on the design team. And one of my big tasks over the past 6 months or so has been designing the Ubuntu Software Center, which has gone through many names. But we've settled on one, at least for the next couple of versions. And if you have been using Ubuntu 9.10, as I hope you all have, then you may have seen it. It looks something like this. Is there anyone who hasn't used it before? I'm guessing this is the Ubuntu users. That's all right. If anyone wants to develop a Ubuntu Software Center, you are more than welcome. So it's been getting some pretty good press. This is the national newspaper of India, and they seem to like it, so it must be good. And thanks go to Michael Vogt, Sebastian Heinlein, who are both here, and Andrew Hickinson, who was our first, very first contributor. About an hour after we released the source code, we got our first patch, which was great. And various others have helped us with patches and code that's going to be merged in Lucid and bug reports and so on. And we really appreciate it. So what's coming up for version 2? Well, if you have been on the wiki and have come across this page, don't all go there at once because you'll use up all our bandwidth, you might have come across this diagram, which looks rather scary, but this is how we go about making the experience of installing, removing, and updating software in Ubuntu really easy and really simple. So, in the next few minutes, I'm going to concentrate on 5 of these areas: non-application packages, repository-based indexes, user-contributed metadata, ratings and reviews, and distinguishing different types of updates. So first, non-application packages. What this means is showing all the packages that are currently shown in Synaptic but are not shown in the Ubuntu Software Center and were not shown in Remove. Now this is going to be rather tricky because there are about 10 times as many packages that aren't applications as are, and many of them are geeky developer type packages, developer documentation, header files, debug packages, that kind of thing. But there are quite a few that are packages that regular users do want to see, things like screensavers, fonts, themes, things like that. And so it's going to be a challenge to work out how to display these, how to present them, how to categorize them, how to make them searchable in ways that don't freak everyone out. So there's going to be a session on this topic on Friday. At least that's what the schedule is at the moment. It might have changed completely by tomorrow. Second, repository-based indexes. Now, this sounds rather geeky in itself, but it has a very important purpose, which is to ensure that when you add another repository, or when you are looking at someone's PPA, the applications that are present in that PPA and the other software present in that PPA or archive are visible to you in the Ubuntu Software Center, and they have sensible names, and they have sensible descriptions, and sensible categories, and sensible icons. Currently, if you add a PPA, for example, like the PPA that Quickly is packaged in, for example, you don't see anything in the Ubuntu Software Center because it's not showing any non-application packages. And even if you did, it would have a rather strange icon, a generic package icon. We want to give it a proper icon. We want it to have a proper category. And so this is going to require some infrastructure work, setting a new standard for how archives should behave, and having some integration work in Launchpad so that this happens automatically whenever any package is rebuilt in an archive. Because tools like apt-get, aptitude, they don't care about this extra metadata, but the Ubuntu Software Center does. So there's going to be a session about that on Thursday, if the schedule stays as it is. Third thing, user-contributed metadata. Now, if you've gone browsing through the Ubuntu Software Center or even through Synaptic, you may have noticed that many of the descriptions of the packages are quite geeky. They talk about something as a Python-based front end for something else, or a GTK tool or a Qt tool, and talking about things which most people really don't care about. And this is actually against the Debian policy manual, which says that the description of a package should be understandable to people who know nothing about the package. And so fixing all of these would be a lot of work if it was left just up to package maintainers. So what we hope to do now is to make it more like Wikipedia, so that anyone with an Ubuntu single sign-on account can say, hey, I could write a better description for this package. And they can submit the suggested better description, better categories, better search keywords, and so on. Those suggestions get stored in Launchpad, and the package maintainer can come along and say, hey, I like that suggestion, that one looks better than the current one. They click a button in Launchpad, it gets applied to the package straight away. That's the end goal anyway. So there will be a session about that on Thursday as well. Fourth thing, ratings and reviews. Now this is going to be quite tricky, but again it's going to involve Launchpad integration. And we are fortunate to have some members of the Launchpad registry team here at UDS who are going to be helping us out with this. Now, this involves anyone, again, with an Ubuntu single sign-on account. For any package that they have installed or that they have recently uninstalled, they can say, yes, I rate this 4 out of 5 and here's why, and present their opinions on it. Their reviews will get stored perhaps in Launchpad, perhaps in a separate database. We need to decide that, and they'll be visible to anyone else using the Ubuntu Software Center and looking at that package. So there'll be a session about that on Thursday as well. Also, there will be a bunch of user testing and on the Ubuntu Software Center, hopefully, and various design fixes, improving some warts and some deficiencies in the current design. Getting lots of help from my colleagues in the design team about that. And so version 2 should be not just more featureful, but also easier to use, more pleasant to use. So we're looking for help with this project, not just in patches, but also in design help if you have some design suggestions. Also in artwork, there are many applications that do not have large scalable icons of the size that we want to present in the Ubuntu Software Center. And so if you can help out with that, that helps not just us, but also any other distribution that packages that package. And also testers, because we are going to be exercising parts of the Debian package system that have never really had a graphical interface before. And so this is going to be revealing all sorts of idiosyncrasies and bugs in Ubuntu packages. And finally, I'd like to talk a little bit about Update Manager, which is the other big part of our software handling, or the graphical part anyway. We're going to make some improvements to Update Manager in Lucid. We're going to make it involve not quite so many pop-up windows, show progress of installing updates more fluidly, and give you more information about what the updates are. And one part of that, a tricky infrastructure part of that, is distinguishing between updates that can be just applied straight away, updates that require you to log out and log in again, updates that require restarting the computer. Currently, Apt has no idea about these different types of updates until after you've installed them, which isn't very helpful if you're okay with installing updates that don't require a restart but want to leave the ones that do require a restart for later, for example. So something we need to work out this week is how are we going to mark those updates that require a restart or require a logout so that the Update Manager can tell you in advance. So there's going to be a session about that on Tuesday. And that's all I have for you today. Thank you.
Does everyone know Didier? Fantabulous author of Quickly. Bing.
One.
Easy up. Oh, okay. All right. So Didier and I are going to talk about a project which I know it's often difficult to get me to talk about, but sometimes I've implied a little. All right, so let me just start from the beginning. First of all, I'm sure that you will all be so compelled by this presentation that you will want to get your hands on Quickly right away. It's in universe requirement right now, so you might as well start right now. So, okay, so here we go. Wait, this doesn't work at all. Here. Okay, so this is this dopey-looking guy is my good buddy Sean. He looks sort of silly and dopey in this picture, but that is really that is an illusion. He's actually an incredibly smart guy. Sean has a PhD in experimental psychology from the University of Washington, which is quite a prestigious place to get such a degree. While he was a student getting his PhD, he wrote some software in C++. Oh. What? Oh. Okay, he wrote some software in C++. And the purpose of this software was to help him run his psychology experiments and to get like very precise timing data. He was like looking at reactions to things that were faster than you could cognitively process them. So, 20 millisecond differences were important experimental differences. So it's a very hardcore C++ code running like right on the metal. He's very, very systematic when he works on this code base. It's portable to other platforms, and it's important code. What happened was, over time, his life evolved to the degree that he's actually not a psychologist, he's a software vendor. And he sells this software to other psychologists. And it's important. Like, they do medical research with people in MRIs using the software, so you can understand how systematic he must be to run this. But, go to the next slide. This is the application that he's proud of the most, though. This was an application that he shipped on the iPhone called iFlush. And on this program, you can pick a picture from your contacts list and flush it down one of 4 different kinds of toilets. And this is the last major project that he shipped. And what had happened was he was getting a lot of requests. Can you port this software to the Mac or a Mac shop? You know what? It's a standard C++ code base. I've been following the standards. I should be able to do this. Let me go read the Mac documentation. And while I was reading the Mac documentation, he ran across the iPhone SDK and documentation. And he formed a mental model of how to write an iPhone app that made him think, that would be easy and fun. I'm going to frickin' do that, because that's going to be fun. And so, I wonder if any of us really believe that somebody in his situation approaching Ubuntu would be able to form such a mental model that makes him think it would be easy and fun. So, sometimes when we talk about this mental model, we call it the application layer cake, where when you start out trying to learn how you're going to program, you're going to start at the bottom and think about the tools and APIs that you need, and then you kind of go up through this layer cake over time. You think about packaging and distribution, and you think about discovery and installation. And like the front page of the iPhone SDK has a map like this, where you can just see, okay, I use Xcode, I use Objective-C, I use something called publishing for packaging and distribution, and people get my software through iTunes. I can do that. That's really easy. So let's see what it would be like, though, if you're thinking about Ubuntu. But wait, actually, are you writing for Ubuntu, or are you writing for GNOME, or Debian, or what? And furthermore, okay, let's go find out what toolkits we should use. Should you use GDK, Qt, WX widgets? It's awesome that there's all this richness in the world about the different ways that you can program on it, but it's very frustrating just simply trying to choose a UI toolkit. There's so many different opinions, and none of them are necessarily linked to the languages. Or if they are, it's non-obvious. Oh, well, if you choose GDK, well, you can use Python, but, Ruby, the bindings are only halfway there. And then furthermore, if you wonder about tooling, there's all different fans of all the different kinds of tooling to use. So just even at this level of getting started with your program, it's very confusing. You can't really get a mental model of it. And then when you start reading about packaging and distribution, if you do write an app, then you start to read a lot of different documentation about a lot of different ways to share it. And most of the documentation is not written from the point of view of someone who's written an app. It's written for a package or packaging someone else's app. So it's really hard to know how that information maps to what you already did. And hopefully you didn't make a huge mistake when you started out, and it's easy to package. And then finally, it's not really clear how your users are going to get the application anyway. So Didier and I embarked during Karmic to solve this problem. And the next slide shows a new application layer cake. And this is for a project called Quickly. So if you research quickly, the tools and API level, you know you're going to use Python with PyGDK, and you're going to use Glade, and you're going to use Desktop Couch for your database. And you know that you can issue a single command called package, and then you'll get a deb. And that's how you package. And you can issue a single command called release, and it'll put it into your PPA. So I hope that through the... Well, I think that's an awesome segue into the demo. So, all right. So Didier is going to build an application. He's going to build a tracking program. I think he's going to track events. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So the first thing he's going to need is his command line. Let's see here. Okay. So just go ahead. I'll be the announcer. Okay. So he's looking at the commands. So he's asking quickly what commands he has available right now. And you can see from this that he has the Ubuntu project template installed right now. And my guess is that he's going to use that since it's the only one installed. So now he's going to create a project. So he's using the create command. He's telling quickly to make a Ubuntu project, and he's naming it Fubi. So, all right, it's running, and you see it's created a project and ran it for him already. So he's already right now got an application that he can start playing with. And he can see he's got some stuff works, the about box works already. So he has confidence right now that he can succeed. So he's going to quit now, and he's going to, I think, work on, okay, so GLADE maybe? Oh, so he switches to his Fubi directory and issues the Glade command. And this is going to bring up Glade. And Glade is the program that you use to edit your user interface. And so my guess is that his first thing he's going to do is delete the boilerplate that we put in there. We put a little boilerplate in there so you can, tells you what the next thing to do is after your program. So he's going to delete this. And Glade is a program that you can use. You can see on the left, you can drag widgets in and you can design from here if you want. But it looks like he's going to quit, which tells me that he's going to write a little code to make it work. So he's going to use the quickly edit command, and this will open all his code. Now all the boilerplate is open in his, this is all the boilerplate that was created for the project. And he's going to the Fubi file. Fubi, it's named after the project, that means it's the main file. So let's see what he's going to do here. Okay, so it looks like he's importing something from Desktop Couch. And he's importing, looks like something called Couch Grid. Couch Grid is a control or a widget that automatically binds itself to Desktop Couch for you. So you don't have to set up the database connection. You don't have to write any query strings. So in just a few lines of code, you can set that up. So let's see what he does here. So, okay. So I was right. He's using Desktop Couch. There's three things that he needs to tell the Couch Grid to use. He needs to tell a database to use, a record type, and he's using a URL for the record type, which is a good idea to use a URL for the record type in Desktop Couch. It's not required, it just needs to be a unique string, but it's a good idea to give developers somewhere to go look and see what's in your record type. And he also is going to need to put in some keys. And the keys, the Desktop Couch is going to store a set of key value pairs, and he's going to tell Desktop Couch what the key value pairs will be. The Couch Grid is also going to use this by default as the column headers in the grid. That French keyboard, yeah. Okay, so note that he's making it a database called event. There is no event database right now, so the database does not exist. When you're using Quickly in Desktop Couch, you don't have to worry about whether the database exists or not. You don't have to query for it. You don't have to create it and set it up. That's all handled by the Desktop Couch library for you. So now he's writing a little PyGDK code, which is going to create the widget, which is a Couch Grid. A widget is simply derived from tree view. Has anyone here ever written a PyGDK tree view? So you know it's like hundreds of lines of code, typically to like set up a few columns. This is sufficient to set up a tree view with all the grids, so we've eliminated. I think only a few of us are recovering from the wounds of using tree view. So he's got to do a little more work. He's got to show it. And if I'm not mistaken, he also needs to put it into the, I don't know what he's doing now. Oh, he's going to make it editable. So this means he wants to use the Couch Grid to put data into the database as well as get it out. So you can just add this property for that. Okay, now he's used every window in the Ubuntu project template in Quickly has an object that's created automatically called Builder. This is the UI builder that you can use to get into the UI. And he's just saying, hey, Builder for your VBox 1. And my guess is, yeah, he's going to use pack. He's going to tell it to put that couch grid into the UI. Okay, so now he's ready to show it in the UI. And now he is going to append an empty row to the couch grid. And I think that's just to give a space for the user to type something in. Otherwise, there won't be any first type. Okay, so I think he's done writing code. And so now he's going to try running the project. And he's going to use the quickly run command. Runs the project. Boom! There's his tree view right there in 8 lines of code. And now he's going to put in some data. Quickly session. Huh?
The schedule.
He should have called it Summit instead of Movie. Okay, so he's entered data. You can see he successfully entered data. Like any opportunistic programmer I know, he's going to quit it and he's going to run it again to make sure it worked. Runs again, and it worked. It pulled the data out of the database. All right, so Didier has a functioning program, and my next guess is that he's going to want to get ready to a license to release this. And so I think, so first he's saving it. So this just wraps up some BZR commands. It just did a BZR add and a BZR commit for him. So he can go back and get revisions if he wants. And now he's going to license it. So he uses the license command, but he needs to configure that a little bit. So there's some minimal configuration he needs to do. He needs to do the year, the copyright holder, and the email. By default, Quickly is going to apply a GPL v3 license for him, but you can ask if there's other licenses types built in. I think he's got BSD. He's got some other ones built in there. So, okay, that time it worked. So now that's actually filled in the copyright file, filled in the license file for him, and it's put the license on the top of all of his code files for him as well. So now he's licensed. Now, he's checking to make, okay, there's the license. So the license has been applied for him, and we just saved him like an hour of work licensing the file. So now he's ready to release. So he wants to share, he's not. Okay, so now he's ready to release. So when you're using the Quickly template, this is all you need for your setup.py file. You just need to tell it a couple basic things, and Quickly's going to make some assumptions for you. So he's going in and changing the description and the long description, which will make a nicer package. This is actually not required. Quickly will go in and fill in all the information that it needs, but if you don't do this, it'll say for description none and long description none. So he wants to give it a nice description. Now, has anyone here, who here has not ever put software into a PPA before? Okay. A few people? Okay. Who here thinks it's fun and easy to put software in PPA? Liars. Okay, so he's going to put software in his PPA by using this command. He's going to type in 2 words, quickly release. It's going to Launchpad, and this is just going to manage the whole process of connecting to Launchpad for him, building, signing, and making the packages signing and put into his PPA. So now he has to tell it what project page to use, because he's actually releasing. There's other commands if you just want to stuff it in your PPA, but you don't want to associate it with the project page. So now it created a tag for the code branch. It did a commit for him while it was at it. Dun, dun, dun. All right, pushing the Launchpad. Okay, now what's happening is that Python disutils extra is inspecting the code for dependencies. Notice he didn't define any dependencies. Quickly is using Python disutils extra to do it for him automatically. Now he's signing his keys. He's telling it to go ahead and sign his keys and uploading it, and it's opening his code page to show that it's been uploaded. And now So, as you can see, I think Quickly is quite the hotness. And we've showed you how to use the Ubuntu project template, and we've showed you that we generate Python code, and then we make other really opinionated choices on behalf of the user. And we showed you the create commands, the glade command, the edit command, the run command, and a few other commands. Right now, the Ubuntu project template is the only template that we have in Quickly. But there's other templates that we would love to see. Like, I think I'm going to make a Ubuntu game template that gets you started with a Pi game.
We actually have one submitted for checkbox automation too.
Awesome. Sweet. Okay. Quickly create checkbox project.
I think it's called checkbox.early.
Sweet. Okay. I think I'm going to make a Jedit plugin probably. Like, I like making the templates because it's so easy. But I think a lot of people probably have other templates that they'd like to make. And so Didier, who is the author of the hard parts of Quickly, is going to explain how to do that.
So I'm sure that now you are all eager to create your own Quickly template. So first, what is Quickly? Indeed, Quickly is made of two parts. There is the Quickly core, which does all the hard stuff for you. And so there is templates. So we just see one template, which is the Ubuntu project template right now. But we hope that a lot of people will develop more templates. Each template are basically two parts. There is a boilerplate. So the boilerplate is your own application that you want to create with your templates. And there are all the Quickly commands. So like create, edit, all the commands I spawn in Ubuntu project. So if you want to create your own Quickly template, it's very easy to start from scratch. You can first create your own stock application with boilerplate in whatever language you want. So you can write an application for GNOME in C, for instance, and so have something, a template like that. And then you implement your own commands in whatever language you wish to. You're not binding to use Python. So here are just examples. You can create a create command, a run command, but you can create whatever you want. But if you, for example, like the Ubuntu project template, but for instance don't want to use Bezier or Launchpad, you can start from another template too. So we have a built-in command for that, which is quickly. So quickly. And then you just specify the original template and the destination template, and it will copy all the current template for you. Then you just have to add to it, remove some comments, and to make the templates what you want. What is important to understand is that there is no inheritance or dependencies between templates, even if you create from another template. That is to say, if later we change the Ubuntu project template, your own template won't be impacted. We have some plan for Quickly 0.4 to be able to import commands for other templates. But currently, for example, if you have in your project, if you want to use another command from another template, it's possible. So there's basically two directories. The first directory is the system one, so it's by default the Quickly data path. And you have your own Quickly templates directories in your home directory. And so Quickly fetches all templates for you. Once you have created your templates, you can check that this template is available with spawn Quickly minus version or Quickly command as I've done at the beginning. So, as I've already told, we don't enforce any language for implementing your Quickly commands. But if you use Python, you will have some bonus, as I will show later. What is important to understand is that commands has a context. Commands can be launched outside or inside a project. So, for example, I won't launch the create command inside a project. I can just launch it outside the project. But there is some command also that I don't want to be launched outside the project. For example, I won't launch Quickly Edit outside the Ubuntu project. There is no reason for that. So there is just a common config file that you have to put on your project. So this one is the one for the Ubuntu project. Here it just says that you can use a tutorial command outside or inside the project. If you want to use it outside the project, you just say quickly tutorial, and the shell completion will propose you all templates that has the tutorial commands. So quickly tutorial Ubuntu project, for instance. And so I just say that the create command can only be launched outside the project. And also there is other parameters like commands followed by commands. For example, the help command, quickly help, will be followed by a command. And this just said to quickly call that you have to show all commands after, and to check that it's a real command that is just put it in the command line. But now you can maybe wonder why creating a quickly template. Why not just use a directory with all your scripts just to create your whole project? Indeed, the main reason is that quickly code has all the hard stuff for you. So it will show available commands corresponding to the context. If you are inside a project or outside, it will remember that you are inside the Ubuntu project template, for example. It will also provide you all the shell completion. If you are outside a project, it will tell you that the tutorial command needs to have a template specified on the command line. If you are inside, you just can launch quickly tutorial, for instance. So all of that is provided by Quickly Core. You just have to bother about your commands. Also, you can consider that all commands are launched in the root directory of your project. So, for instance, if I launch quickly edit in the bin directory, I don't have to handle this in my template. All Quickly Core does the transition for you to fake like if you are launching in the root directory of your project. Also, there is a .quickly file generated for you that can help you to handle version transition and stuff like that. As I told before, if you are using Python, you have some little bonus. You can really easily access and modify the .quickly file in just a dictionary. Also, shell completion is made easier for you. You have commands like launchpad handling, for example, just what I showed you before in the release command. Telling that this project will be binding with this launchpad project is just one line. All is provided by the Quickly library. It's the same for BZDR and PPA handling. We can even handle multiple PPA. And also a lot of little other stuff just to make your life easier. So that's it for Quickly. I hope you will enjoy it, create projects, create templates. Enjoy.
Should we take some questions, or yeah? Mirka?
I'm wondering, would the people using templates gain any specific? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I'm wondering, would people gain any specific advantages if somebody provides Python template directly, or does it not matter if the implementation language of that template is actually C or whatever else? I mean, does it make a difference for the people using the templates at the end in which language in the beginning the templates were written?
Yeah, there is no difference for the user. It's just a template developer which will have his life easier.
Okay.
I didn't see, did it create a Bazaar branch for you? Did it create a project, a Launchpad project for you?
No, it doesn't create the Launchpad project for you. Indeed, we want to avoid, by using quickly cluttering Launchpad with all strange and foobar projects so easily. And Launchpad and Launchpad doesn't provide that also. So
do you have to have keys set up for both the Bazaar and the PPA upload?
Currently, yeah, you have to. It checks that you have a GPG key. And in quickly order for, we check that the GPG key is the right one, which it doesn't do currently. But it's what we plan. We want to make easier the GPG key creation if the user doesn't have one, and the upload to Launchpad to the GPG. So I hope I will work with Launchpad guys to see what is possible to do with Launchpad lib in that direction.
Is there a quickly test?
Quickly test is underway for quickly 0.4. It's we try to have a very strong test that first for the Ubuntu project and for the core, very separate test for that. But yeah, it's.
I assume that was an offer of a patch.
Also,
We'll take the branch. We'll look for the merge proposal. Yeah. Thanks, Mark.
Sorry, George. If there's a dependency in one template which is not fulfilled yet by the installed software packages, does Quickly pull that in automatically, or does manual work that's still needed?
No, that's still manual work. It will just say, indeed, it's Python distorted extra, which make all the detection. And it will just say that, no, this package is not there, so you can't beat it.
Would it be possible to add that? I mean, so that's automatically pulled in?
Yeah. Users are expected to test their program before releasing or sharing it. So normally they have the dependency, but well, that's maybe something that can be worked on.
Yeah, I mean, for example, someone is using a template which is using, OpenGL bindings for GDK. Well, the template offers that, but it's not installed by default, so that would not get pulled in automatically once someone starts such a template for the first time on their system, right?
Normally also all templates are in separate packages, so they must have their dependencies.
Okay, so the template package actually takes care of it. Okay.
Yeah, for example, the quickly package is just the quickly core package. It has very few dependencies, but it recommends the quickly Ubuntu project packages that have all the Launchpad lib and stuff like that dependencies.
Okay, yeah.
Is there a way to port an existing project to Quickly so I can start doing my package generation and releases Quickly?
Yeah, there is no wiki document at the moment, but we love to to have one. I have already ported a daemon, desktop daemon to Quickly, so we're moving all the UI and all what is. If it's a Python project, it's very easy. You just have to set up a little bit your setup file, setup.py, and it's really easy. So
I did it with BugHugger. Okay.
He was asking about porting, and I think the root of the question is my application is working, but the packaging and the making the PPAs and stuff is so freaking painful. I'd love to have that quickly, that quickly hotness for those commands. So I had a program that I wrote before called BugHugger, and so I said, quickly create Ubuntu project BugHugger, took the default project, and in about half an hour, I just copied and pasted all the code in. And thanks to Pity's fantabulous Python distutils extra, it detected all the dependencies and created the package, no problem. So there's no porting per se, but it's not really complex, assuming it's already in Python.
Yeah, Quickly is not a framework, so once you have created your project, you have no dependencies on Quickly. It's just a tool to help you.
Quick question, how to reference a project. So for example, I've got application core, which will be my backend for my application, and then the UI one, because I might want to have different UI, Qt or GTK. Is there any way to tell quickly that I'm depending on another project in Launchpad that I'm also developing at the same time, but for the dependencies, or I have to do that manually?
You're asking how to set a dependency on
between two projects that I'm writing at the same time.
that are not in, and none of them in archives?
Yeah.
Is this like for writing code, do you mean? Or?
Yes. I hate to give this example, but let's say that I'm using Visual Studio and I've got different projects. I like to have a different. I want to have a library which has all the core of my application, and I want to have UI and a Qt UI. How could I tell quickly? This is my core library. I'm referencing this from my other quickly project that I just used to do.
There's a convention for that, which is to set the Python path at the beginning. And so when you do, instead of doing quickly run, you'll go into the bin directory, say Python path is the library that I'm also developing, and then run my binary that's consuming it, and it'll just work.
Yeah, but I don't mean about the Python path, that I know, but I'm more concerned about the dependencies, because whenever I release, for example, my core package.
Oh, you see, you'd have to package the dependencies and then package the other one.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have like the notion of a library package separate from a project package at this point.
All right.
I don't think what you're asking for is complex. I just think you just package one of these. Maybe I can pity them. He's like, I don't.
So first of all, quickly is awesome. So thank you very much. Secondly, the hardest part of the process when we were playing with it yesterday was setting up, your GPG key and all that kind of stuff. Are there plans to make this easier in the future?
Yeah, for Quickly 0.4, we hope that we can help the user just to enter their passphrase and to create their GPG key if they haven't one, and to upload it to Launchpad. We hope we can do that.
Great.
But dwell on that notion for a second. So Jono just said the hardest part of the program was setting up GPG keys. I mean,
yeah,
they cost what? Nonetheless, I mean that's a tremendous usability improvement from like the developer usability perspective.
Yeah, that was the longest thing I spent on my project before, like just working with GPG key. So it's kind of weird.
Is there any plans to have a UI, a GUI for this, instead of using the command line to create the projects and so forth?
GUI is created one weekly. My memory is good.
Can I dwell on this one?
I don't know.
Someone want to do that with Quickly?
Yeah. So first of all, I think it would make an interesting Quickly project, and that's what Bryce did. But it's a question that. So I want to dwell on this question for a sec because we get it a lot, we field it a lot. Like, why did you make a command line instead of a GUI? And I think part of this comes from people coming from other platforms where the developer tools are GUI centric. But I think when we started working on Quickly, we were actually more inspired by another project called Ruby on Rails, which completely took the web by storm and completely changed development. What their position was that like writing web pages used to be fun, and let's make it fun again. And they made it really fun at the command line. And so they demonstrated a couple things. First of all, a well-designed command line interface for a developer audience is a really beautiful thing. So if you look at our command line interface, we don't take switches. Typically, there's no switches required. Most of the commands are 2 or 3 words and no switches. So it's actually a really fun and easy to use command line. The other nice thing about command lines is that they invite interoperability. So for instance, if you wanted to pull it into an existing GUI tool, like I could imagine, I know there's a lot of Eclipse developers, it would be very trivial for them to just fold it into Eclipse instead of the Quickly developers being held back by having to write this complex development environment in GUI, just let someone else suck it in. So personally, I don't think that if anyone writes a GUI, that'll really take off and be popular, because for things like this, the command line is actually a lot more fun and a lot more easy. Martin looks incredulous, but we'll take, we create a project where Quickly would be perfect for such a thing. So.
Thanks, George.
Okay, that's it. Sessions.